Hello and welcome to Politics here on France 24. They have the presidency, the Senate, the majority of big towns, counties, the region, and now, since last Sundays, the National Assembly. Yes, the socialists now have control of nearly all the levers of powers in France for the first time. No need for allies to govern, but also no excuses for failure. On the other side of the political aisle, after a stinging defeat, the Conservatives need to regroup and refresh after 10 years in power. To discuss what will become of this socialist dominance and how the Conservatives will rebuild is Senator for the Socialist Party, Hélène Conway-Mouret. And also on the set, Jacques Miard from the Conservative Party, who survived the axe, or the guillotine, I should say, and was re-elected in his constituency near Paris. Welcome to both of you. Before we open the floor, I just want to go back to the results of the legislative elections. Round 2 was last Sunday. Record abstention, but a clear majority for the left, the Socialist Party and its nearest allies. They have 314 seats. The magic number was 289. This is what you need to get an absolute majority. So as I said, they do not need to formally ally with the Green Party or the left front. We can call this a grand slam.
Yes, indeed. But I think the socialists usually do very well in local elections, and the deputation is somehow a local, well, it is a local election where the people love to see who they have, who will be defending them up in Paris from the regions where they live. So yes, it was a very good win. I suppose there's something logical in that vote insofar as the people elected a president on the program. He had a list of measures that he had promised he would implement, and obviously he would need a majority to do so in the parliament. And I think there's a kind of a logic in the vote that we saw.
But a few weeks ago, it was not a done deal that the socialists would get an absolute majority on their own, and this is what happened. So it's a clear mandate for François Hollande and Jean-Marc Ayrault, the Prime Minister.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the socialists were so unsure that they actually had this agreement with the Greens prior to Christmas. It was signed, I think, last November, because they felt that indeed there were so many unknowns, and the country is going through such a crisis that obviously it was difficult to know how the people will actually vote in the end. So there was an agreement, and then in the end they actually gave a full mandate to the socialists to implement now this program. So
yes, this is true. I mean, there is logic in the institution, because when the president wins the election, it's quite normal that in the next election he will have a majority, which happened in the former presidential election. And this is why I was always in favor of having the presidential election and then the legislative, the National Assembly election, so that there is a current policy. But now you are at stake. Now you are having the hot potato of the economic crisis, and for rebuild, as you have been asking before, our party, it's very easy. We are just waiting for their failure, for the mistakes they are going to do, because in fact, they have a full majority. As you said, there is no excuse. And secondly, I think that, unfortunately, because this is France's stake and destiny, the economic situation is very hard. You see that in Europe there is no real policy which be able to, create growth. And I do believe that on the left-hand side, you will have people asking more, and you won't be able to do and to give them what they want. So I think that there will be very, very quickly a big gap created between the population and the government.
Well, yes, but at the same time, I think the people actually understand, what's happening in the world, and that while they may want certain things, I think there is kind of a trust which François Hollande has started to build, I think, from the day he was elected, with a kind of a different style, if you like, of being a president. I know there were a few symbolic measures, but at the same time, I think it was just to set the scene to say, well, look, we're going to go through hard times, but he will need the people behind him. And he has also approached already the trade unions and so on with the view to actually getting the message through that there will be hard measures, there will be an austerity plan as been implemented in other countries. Nobody knows exactly how hard it's going to be, but everybody knows that there will be, we need more, we need to save money and we need to reduce expenses. So, I mean, everybody is kind of in agreement as to what's needed. Then
yes,
the answer is how to actually find that money and where to find it.
I'm sorry to say that this is not the way you are taking now, because you are increasing expenses without reducing anything, and you will ask more taxes for everyone, especially for the middle classes. And the other issue and challenge is that unemployment will grow up, and that's I know I'm not very glad about that, but this is a reality. And so I think that this economic reality will really be very pregnant on the government and will create a lot of disillusion among the poor classes who voted for the socialists, because in fact you promise much more, in terms of hopes that you are really able to do.
But Jacques Mia, on the other hand, having an absolute majority on your own allows you to take maybe measures that were not in your program, and it's easier to do this than having to...
Yes, but never forget, I agree, and I would say
and there are no elections for 2 years.
For France, it's good that the Socialist Party itself has a majority, and for the the sake of the nation. But on the other hand, the measures they will take, because that will be very tough, will be against their popularity. So I think that they are really in a very narrow situation. They are, as we say, on the razor, on the line of the razor edge.
Yeah, but the measures were not taken. I mean, look at the increase of the public debt under Nicolas Sarkozy's government. I mean, the right has no lessons, I think, to give at the moment.
It's not a question of lessons.
No,
it's
but
a question of reality.
For 10 years, not very much was done in that. The crisis didn't happen with François Hollande's election. It has been there for some time, and unemployment has been on the rise, and yet nothing really was done. When you're talking about measures that may be unpopular that were not taken, they should have been taken for some time, and they were not because there was an election pending.
Don't get confusing things, please.
No. So now what we have is indeed a situation where we have a government which has promised a certain number of measures, trying to build trust within the people to say, well, look, it's going to be very hard and we will need you to implement them. And I think that if the right only waits for François Hollande's government to make mistakes to be able to come back in power, it will be very sad, really. I think the right needs to rebuild itself.
First of all,
from the ideological point of view before
the crisis
is
an international crisis, and it had started, in United States, and now we have a crisis of the Eurozone, because there are two different crises. Secondly, the government, it is true that the debts in France, as everywhere in Europe and in the world, have increased dramatically, because we have been practicing a Keynes policy. That means to try to have expenses to bring the growth up again. And France, in this field, in the last years, has not done so badly, because we were the only country in Europe which has never been in recession. But the point is, when you look what the Commission said to Mr. Hollande, and what the Cour des Comptes, that means the accountability court in France, says, be careful, because if you increase, your public expenses, you go straight into the wall. And this is why I say that the policy that this government is trying to implement is absolutely at the opposite side what should be done. Because, and this is why I say, you have been elected on promises, on hopes, and you will, in a couple of months, do exactly the contrary, and then you will be in a political deadlock.
Quick response, and then I want to get to the future of the UMP.
Well, the response is that I think, there is clarity there, and, we're going to be discussing now in the Parliament in the next few weeks anyway, the budget. They will have to be rectified, and we will know in 2 weeks' time what the minister will be presenting. So let's wait and see for the taxations that may be raised, but we don't actually know anything at the moment. So the few measures that were taken, that we were attacked on immediately, as to bring back the age of 60 for those who started very early and who had actually fully contributed to the 41 years, sometimes even more. It's only a few thousand people, and it's not going to actually break the public expenses.
No,
Okay.
we have very clearly said that will cost France for the budget 20 billion euro. No, don't say this is few things. It's 20 billions on the coming years.
That is not right.
I want to get to your party. There is a lot of soul searching after the defeat, and some people within the party are questioning the ideological lines, saying the party went too far towards the National Front, too far towards the right. And here is one example among several of a high-level UMP official, François Baroin, who was until recently the finance minister. Here's what he had to say about this attitude, and especially about one of his former colleagues, Nadine Morano, who said during the legislative campaign that she shared the values of the National Front.
The UMP is against extremes. The UMP should not hunt on such and such turf. We need to refine our values and refuse extreme solutions. When I heard during the election certain people saying they shared values with the National Front and found Marine Le Pen a sympathetic person, I wondered, what's next? Do we have a drink and then have dinner and a chat? This is not even thinkable and nowhere near the spirit of the founders of our party.
Jacques Millard.
Well, first of
He's
all,
not the only one. Alain
no,
Juppé.
Yeah, well, I
Bruno
think
Le
that
Maire.
You just pinpoint few declarations as Mr. Baron one, but in fact, you said something which is wrong, because Morano did not say that she shares value with the Netherlands. She said certain few values, which is a slightly different. But secondly, I would say this is not a question, in fact, because I belong to, what's so-called popular right. But why? I'm not going to the National Front. I just want that the problems that France is facing be solved. And, we have been in certain position a bit lax. We need to control the immigration flux. We need to be tougher on security. But we also need to rebuild Europe, because we live in this macroeconomic system, which is the Eurozone. And there is a big problem, because today the Eurozone will not survive if we go on the same path. So I think that, in fact, what we need now, it's an ideological, not only the question of values, which is, something's very not aloft sometimes. We need also to solve practically and to give the solution to the economic problems that France is facing.
Hélène Conway-Mouret, do you see the reactions from François Baroin, but also former Foreign Minister Alain Juppé, former Agriculture Minister Bruno Le Maire, who've said, now that they're freed, if I may say, from the constraints of the campaign, that yes, the party went too far right and we should reconsider, and there are others like Jacques Millard who are saying, no, we were on the right path?
I think it's true that there is a tension within the party, and I don't belong to that party, so I don't belong to any camp, and maybe I may be a little bit more objective.
Yeah, you have many camps
if I look at yes, indeed, but we managed them to have a united front.
Against?
I think some people, maybe out of desperation or whatever, went too far, feeling that indeed Marine Le Pen appeared to be gaining grounds and therefore votes. And it may be one area to go to try to get the votes back, which Nicolas Sarkozy managed to do in 2007 very well. And indeed, he raised a lot of expectations there among certain parts of the population who yesterday, when they voted for Marine Le Pen. So I think it's a dilemma that the UMP will have to deal with, because there are very clearly two camps. The popular right lost half of its MPs, so obviously it's not maybe among the population a tendency that is actually gaining grounds. People may feel that they prefer to vote for Marine Le Pen rather than vote for the right of the UMP. So that's for the UMP
Well, it's
to
very
decide.
clear.
But I think as long as people kind of hang on to what we call Republican values, Republican with a kind of French meaning to it, I think the UMP would probably come out of this turmoil, but there will be.
It will be very easy.
I think.
Why will it be easy?
Maybe
it will
so.
be very easy
because
in fact,
tensions
no.
You need to have a leader as well.
Don't
who
confuse
be one or
things.
the other.
It's not because 2 or 3, even former ministers said we went too far on the right, that they represent what's really the spirit of the public opinion. When you look at the polls, among those who voted UMP, over 65% say we should reconsider our relation with the National Front. So we are not going to make any alliance. There is no way.
Why not? If the
No,
majority
no,
of
no, no, no,
people
because
want
there is, we have absolutely a clear cut with the National Front. But what we need is to respond to the public opinion, and patients, what they are waiting for to solve the problems. And that's the main point in my view. And I would say that, in fact, it's a question how to deal. It's not a question of slogans. It's not a question of theory. It's a question of facts. And this is on this field that we can regain those who wanted away. And I'm pretty sure we can do that. We need also those who are center-right in our parliament. I just had a very short chat with Mr. Raffarin, a former prime minister, who said to me, you need me, but I need you as well. Because in this party, in fact, we go on both legs.
Do you think both legs will stay together or they will blow apart quickly?
Well, I don't know. It is up to the UMP to decide. But the centrists have the same problem. There may be Monsieur Raffin, but Monsieur Borloo came out today saying that he's now the person representing the centre. So there are problems of leadership, I think, both in the UMP that will need to be resolved. And behind that leadership issue, there is indeed the positioning of the UMP, I believe. The same with the centre.
Okay, we'll have to see how this shapes out.
We'll get out of this mess.
As Jacques Mer just said, let's see how the socialists deal with the economic situation and the UMP deal with its ideological battles. And thank you very much for watching this edition of Politics here on France 24.